Good morning, I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you, spend some time with you, talking about you and your business. Like always on this program, we have a lot to cover. We begin our program with our friend Felicia Cravens, political consultant, political junkie, mom. The woman wears many hats. Always delighted to have her on the program. And what is it? FreeRadicals.com website. And, of course, she's also got enormous amounts of content over at U.S. Daily Review. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Oh, boy, I tell you, it never gets boring in politics, does it?
No, it never does, even though sometimes I wish it would. It never does get boring. It seems like that and it seems like it never even takes a break anymore. I used to get the impression that there was these lull periods, in political cycles, but, if you're not on a national race that you're watching or a federal race that you're watching, someone's running for mayor like we have here locally, or city council like we have here locally. So that's how this, odd year is being spent. And the next year you've got the whole federal offices again. It never stops.
It's not even just that. Now we've got international news that's exploding on a weekly basis. The people in Egypt right now, they're not getting a break at all from the battle between, it sounds like, the army and the Muslim Brotherhood. And just when you think things at home get wild and crazy enough, then there's all the international news to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. What's happening internationally, I think, in Egypt makes a really good case because, they try to have a system of government sort of like ours with a legislative branch and a chief executive. And generally speaking, I think that's part of what's necessary in order to keep and maintain a free society, because that helps create a little bit of tension between the legislature and the executive branch. You don't want it to, it creates checks and balances, and so generally you want those type of things. But unfortunately, in a country that is so incredibly divided and so oppressive historically on minorities, it really does make a case for the British parliamentary system or the Israeli parliamentary system, where it's pretty obvious that you're not going to get one group majority, voting for that parliament. And so they'd have to create a coalition government, which I think would increase the chances of there being more respect for minorities. What do you think about that?
I think it's possible, but I also am very skeptical about a parliamentary form of government, simply because it gives so much power to such small minorities that make up the balance of the coalition that swings power one way or the other. That's always been an issue with me.
Yeah.
You would have a very small party that would make up 7% of the electorate or something, and they would be the ones that would push any coalition over. And so this very small minority ends up getting lots more power, disproportionate to the amount of people that they represent.
Yeah.
That's worried me. But
that's never bothered me because, good government represents minorities. The thing that's always bothered me is the problem of checks and balances. That's my biggest problems with a parliament. There is no checks and balances with a parliamentary government because the prime minister, like in England, reflects the legislative branch. It'd be like the Speaker of the House being President of the United States. I never liked that concept. But, again, because of the division going on there and the violent division as it is, I don't know what else they can do. A chief executive who's elected outside of the legislative branch, that spells, we saw what Morsi was like.
You can argue that we don't have checks and balances in the United States anymore effectively as well, though.
Well, that's because of an impotent Congress. That's largely because of an impotent Congress. These people allow the executive branch to do essentially whatever it wants to do.
And has for a long time. This is not new.
Yeah, it's not just in Obama. I mean, I can go right back to just immediately before Obama when George Bush put a bill before Congress to give a bailout to the automobile industry, and it didn't pass Congress, and he said, we'll use TARP funds anyway. And it's like, really? I mean, you obviously didn't think you could do that. That's why you took it to Congress, but in the back end, that's exactly what you do. It was incredibly arrogant. He looked like a little Napoleon, but that's exactly what we're talking about.
And that is why the divide in this country is not so much left and right and not so much Democrat, Republican. It's political class versus the rest of us. the people who spend all of their time, effort, and money amassing power at the federal level, at the state level, whatever. And then the rest of us who just want to be left alone, and we get stirred up when something seems very wrong. But by the time we get there, there's not a lot of power that the little guy has to stop those things. It's why I've been so involved in the Tea Party for so many years now, because it seems to be the only thing that was moving certain politicians, that was changing the conversation. I still believe it's still a divided country by political class, but we're still working on that. You know, maybe quite a bit more effort to go, but at least people are seeing the problem now.
Yeah, no question about it. So what do you think about the status of the Tea Party today? Of course, the media keeps on telling us the party is over. What do you think?
I think that the reason the media is enjoying that narrative is because they're not seeing the work that the Tea Party is doing. A lot of smart Tea Party leaders decided to get into the electoral side, begin to screen candidates, begin to become candidates, begin to work door to door, phone call to phone call to elect people. There's an interesting movement in New Jersey. Steve Lonegan just won the primary for the Republican side against several other competitors, and he's going to go up against Cory Booker in October. And he's a Tea Party guy. He's been in with Americans for Prosperity. He's got good, deep ties there, and he's got people that are committed to changing the way that New Jersey looks. And that's the kind of action that Tea Party's doing. They're getting embedded into the political arena, and you're not seeing the rallies so much, and you're not seeing the protests, but what you're seeing is political activism, and hopefully that stealth habit that Tea Party's forming is going to carry on a lot longer than just the protests and the signs and the waving the fists in the air. That's what's really going to move the country, not just the visuals, but actually working in electoral politics. And I know many leaders, that's exactly what they're doing.
Felicia Cravens is our guest. Can we hold you through the break?
Sure.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little more about New Jersey U.S. Senate. I can't imagine you think Cory Booker can be beaten. I don't think he can. But anyway, let's talk about that. That'll be interesting. I sure would love to see him get beat, particularly by the Tea Party favorite that got the nomination on the GOP side. We'll talk about that and much, much more. You're listening to The Price of Business. I do want to remind you our best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com.